Have you ever desperately needed something in your life? Something that would greatly improve your life and not know what it was until you got it? As if there was a void in your soul that you were not even aware of, but as soon as this thing enters your life, you feel as if you don't know how you managed to live without it. Persona 5 Mementos mission is my thing. My journey through the entire title of Persona 5 last year led me from the peaks of Persona 5 Royal and Persona 5 Strikers to the trenches of the Persona 5 manga, the weird middle ground of Persona 5 the animation, to the void of games that I haven't finished where Tactica exists. And one of the last things I came across in that journey was Persona 5 Mementos mission. Being disappointed by most non-game adaptations or side stories of Persona 5, I originally went into Mementos mission with low expectations, and any worries I had were cleared in less than 10 pages. Today I'll be talking about Persona 5 Mementos mission and why I think it's the best Persona manga to date. Persona 5 Mementos mission follows my lord and savior Ren Amamiya, good riddance Akira Kurusu, as he tackles a series of Mementos requests. This manga takes place during the main story of Persona 5, and it's written with such attention to detail that I can actually roughly guess which days this manga takes place during. Even without the manga mentioning that Halloween is soon, we know this manga takes place in October due to the inclusion of Haru and the role that Akechi plays in this manga. Haru being with the Phantom Thieves and mentioning that her father is dead places this manga after October 11th at the very least. But this manga also has to take place before the second day of the Culture Festival on the 26th, where Akechi reveals he knows who the Phantom Thieves are. Now, I can't point out the exact days that the events of this manga take place because that's left pretty much entirely ambiguous, but the fact that I can narrow it down as much as I did amazes me. Getting back on topic, I mentioned that this manga follows Ren completing a series of Mementos requests, but I didn't mention that it also features surprisingly natural and well-utilized appearances from some of Joker's confidants as they provide help throughout the PT's investigations. Having a bit of a larger role, we have EY and Takemi, while Oya and Chihaya have a couple of appearances as well. Their inclusions not only make sense, but prove to make this manga extremely interesting. In the specific case of EY, some of his confidant ranks are actually tied into the overarching plot. The cases the Phantom Thieves are tasked with are interesting themselves, each one doing a great job at keeping you interested as they develop. To give a brief summary of each one, the first case is about finding the culprit behind the attempted murder of Shiro Asakura, the CEO of a production studio. The hook on this one is that Asakura was seemingly poisoned by Mika, the model from An's confidant. The second case surrounds a series of murders by an unknown ex-mercenary in Shibuya. These are three different stories that all have their own pull on the story and are all incredibly interesting in their own right. Throughout the 18 chapters this manga takes place over, there was never a boring moment. I really don't want to go any further in explaining the plot and risking spoiling anyone, because I really do recommend sitting down and reading this manga for yourselves. This is a manga after all, so art is arguably the most important aspect, and Mementos mission kills it in every category. I can really tell that Rokuro Saito, the artist for Mementos mission, understands the overall feel and aesthetic of Persona 5 and is able to perfectly incorporate it into his art. Before we even get to the art inside the manga, I just have to say that out of every manga I own physically, which isn't much to be fair, Persona 5 Mementos mission has the most beautiful physical presentation. Each volume is bigger than a standard manga volume, matching up to the height and width of my massive Fire Force omnibus, and every cover is laminated and has this flap on the inside that reveals the full image when folded out, with volume 3 being the only one to have this featured on both the front and the back covers with Ren and Akechi. If that wasn't cool enough, this manga has exclusive covers only sold at Barnes & Noble. The first volumes featuring Ren and Futaba, the second with Ren and Makoto, and the third having Ren and Haru. The first page of each volume contains absolutely stunning color pages, each one being wallpaper worthy on their own. Moving on to the art inside the manga, I can only say it's absolutely amazing. This manga seemingly uses the art style of the character portraits in the game as a base and builds on top of it. Every character is on model and it looks amazing. There's even a design choice in this manga that I like slightly more than in the original game. Due to certain circumstances, Makoto has to wear boxing wraps on her arms, and now I am of the firm belief that this should have just been part of her base design. Emotion is communicated extremely well through the character's expressions. When there is tension that needs to be felt, I can practically see it oozing off of the pages. It's absolutely insane how easy it is to be absorbed into this manga. The paneling of Memento's mission is extremely busy, but not to the point of being cluttered. It feels as if every page is moving and jumping out to grab my attention, just like the UI in Persona 5. In addition to not getting bored because the story is good, I also never get bored because this is probably one of the most visually interesting manga I have ever read. The pages are littered with in-game references and elements that just fit so naturally. Hell, when a character is introduced, they get a title card in the classic Persona 5 mismatched font and bold outlines. Whenever a phone rings, it uses the same icons as in the game. Ren's diary is not only utilized frequently in the manga, but it is designed to be the save page like it is in the game. It could have just been a regular piece of paper in a regular diary, but the fact that it isn't just proves how much heart, how much life was put into this manga. There's even a moment where Ren has to decide how to act when put on the spot, and 3 dialogue options appear beside him. These small details create an incredibly satisfying and unique reading experience that fans of the game can truly appreciate visually. An extremely large portion of this manga takes place outside of Mementos, but the few times we are in Mementos, it's done incredibly well. The Phantom Thieves are almost entirely cast in the shadows they move through. They are elusive beings only seen by their targets, and I have to say this approach makes for pages cooler than anything to come out of the Persona 5 manga. Sorry, I had to get that shot in. But seriously, I adore this manga's art. If there is one thing that I can call my absolute favorite part of this manga, it's this story's take on Joker, now named Ren Amamiya after P5A's iteration. And I have to say that I think this is not only the best manga version of Joker, but also the best non-game version of any Persona protagonist. Is that statement biased? Yes, this is my video, I don't know what else you expected. Seriously though, this manga allows Ren to be a character instead of just a lens with a name for the viewer to look through. Yes, that was another shot at Akira Kurusu. He's portrayed as being extremely busy, balancing both his normal and Phantom Thieves lives. He's goddamn ripped because he works out every morning, again another example of incorporating gameplay elements into the manga. He's very consistently funny, but can also be serious and responsible, especially when it comes to his job as a Phantom Thief. He works day in and day out, often pushing past exhaustion, which really shows his dedication to his work. He's constantly mulling over cases, even when he's alone. It's just a very interesting take on the character because it's accurate. Persona 5 is easily the most busy game in the series because of everything that happens in the game, and I'm amazed that it was translated so well through Ren. Due to certain circumstances in the manga, Ren has to go to a police station by himself, and you can see that he's still quite traumatized by his arrest, to the point where he's shaken just being in a station. It's just great characterization because Ren isn't some invincible badass all the time. He isn't Joker all the time. He has his trauma, but he uses it to fuel his drive to reform the unjust society that wronged him. And again, the manga gets this. There is a quote in Volume 3 that is said by the entirety of the Phantom Thieves that reads, "Overwhelmed by a reality we could do nothing about, we screamed in the silence of our hearts, but no one came to help." Ren understands the pain of someone like that. He too carries deep scars on his heart. Framed for an assault he was trying to stop and forced to transfer to Shujin Academy, things really sucked for him when he met all of us. It's hard to put into words, but it's like by helping someone, he helps himself on that night. At least, we think that's how he feels. It could all just be in our heads, yes, but he really is the best. And god damn it, that almost brought me to tears. Almost. I did not cry at this manga. It makes me incredibly happy that someone finally did something interesting with the most expressive and characterized Persona protagonist, and absolutely nailed it as well. Persona 5 Mementos Mission is what I think all Persona manga adaptations should strive to be. After reading the Persona 3, Persona 4, and Persona 5 manga adaptations, I can say with confidence that we really don't need manga retellings of the games. The anime adaptations are a whole different discussion, but to me, Persona anime adaptations have only missed twice, with Persona 4 the Golden animation and Persona 5 the animation. And even then, P5A has its merits if you just look past all the scuff. But when it comes to the Persona 3 and Persona 5 manga, each one has had massive problems in one way or another. Mementos Mission, being a side story, creates new scenarios for fans to read, new moments for people to enjoy instead of botched retellings of moments from the games. That's where this manga succeeds the most. It's allowed to be its own thing. Mementos Mission is the only thing out there that tells its story, and it's told pretty damn well at that. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching.
Lately I'm feeling so cool. Yeah. Come and get a taste of the hip soul food. Spice up the animal when you haiku. While soul goes to school, way slash kung fu.